Welcome to another edition of Talk Your Exposure. This is season 1, episode 10. Unfortunately, my co-host Devontae could not make it today due to a family emergency. We wish him nothing but the best. However, we have a very, very special guest with us in the building today. This is Mike George, former CIA owner and owner of One Legacy Sports Management. Happy New Year, Coach. How are you doing today?
Doing well, man. Happy New Year to you as well.
We thank you very much for attending and coming on the show. I got to know from the beginning, how'd you get on Deal or No Deal?
Looks, man. They said, let's find the best looking guy in Canada. And then they ripped out, I mess with you. Now, it was actually when I was teaching, and there's a fellow teacher that was there, and she was like, hey, man, like, Deal or No Deal's coming to Canada. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, you guys should apply. I'm like, all right, whatever, So I didn't really, I said, well, anyways, I just ended up applying. My wife, whatever, she applied for whatever. And then I remember getting a call. It was like, hey, man, this is Deal or No Deal, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, whatever. I told some of my friends I was doing it. So I thought they were clowning me. So eventually I hung up on them, like, whatever. So they called back, like, man, listen, we don't know if you know, like, this is really Deal or No Deal, but it didn't really sound like you were interested. I'm like, this is really them? So then anyway, it just kind of happened from there. But I thought it was a fake call.
I mean, I read in an article that you picked cases based off your favorite NBA players. Is that true?
Yeah, that's why I forever hate Chris Bosh, because that had a lot of money behind it. But yeah, I did. I picked it up names.
Who are your favorite NBA players?
Every one of my clients. So Jamal, Dylan Brooks. But if you go outside of that, I mean, obviously, I'm a Michael Jordan fan forever. And then Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Jason Kidd, Magic Johnson, guys like that.
So I'm guessing you watched the Last Dance documentary with Michael. What was your input on that? What was your intake on that?
Oh, it was just good. It's good seeing some behind the scenes. I bet they could have done a little bit more behind the scenes stuff when he's in practice. But it's good to see a different side of him and then things you've heard about him and whatever. But just a competitive nature, because you can always apply that to just anything you're doing in life, whether it's your own business and whatever it may be. So it's just interesting to see his competitive nature and just refusal to lose. So I thought it was really good. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Who are you looking forward to watching this year?
Oh, I mean, my guys. But again, I'm not gonna give you the same old answer. But you know what? Just the whole league as a whole. I think it's a little different. Things are rushed, but I think it's just getting to the playoffs and just get down to the real basketball and kind of watch these teams. And there's some underdogs. Like, I live in Phoenix right now, so Phoenix Suns. They're a little bit of these underdog teams. So curious to see how they do.
Are you a Devin Booker fan?
Yeah, I respect their team, definitely.
Okay. If you could make your own NBA team from the 90s, and you have 5 guys, you could have 5 guys from the 90s and 5 guys from today's game, and they could obviously be the people that you have on in your business as well.
Yeah.
Who would your 10 guys be?
Man, that's so tough. I got to go back to the 90s. Who played in the 90s? So can I get a Michael Jordan? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
I would take Mike, Kobe.
Ooh.
Is he around that 90s just before? Or no,
yeah,
he's a little bit too.
Yeah. He came in 96. Came in 96.
Late. So I'll take Kobe, Mike, Shaq for sure.
Okay.
That's my center. And then I need some shooting, man. Who can shoot the ball? You know what? This might be a weird pick for people, but I might take Ray Allen. Just gonna need a dead knockdown shooter to space the floor. And then I would take Tim Duncan as my 4.
Okay. And if you were to add on 5 guys from today's game?
Today, obviously LeBron, the Greek Freak, Jamal, Dylan, and Dwight Powell. That'll be my 5. We're good with that. I'll roll with those guys.
So if you obviously 3 of those guys are Canadian, but if you couldn't input any Canadians into those 10 guys other than the three that you mentioned, what other Canadians would you insert, or are you good with that 10?
I'm good with that 10, but I do feel like other Canadians that are like worthy done a nice job is, I thought Shea Alexander's done a really nice job. I think Nikhil's a little bit underused, that I think he's actually really talented. Remember, I'll take our whole Canadian kids. That would be my team. I'll take all the Canadian kids in the league. Lou Dance, the whole crew, always rep the flag, man. So I'll take Toronto.
Even in the state, you're still a proud Canadian.
100% for life.
Nice.
Did you see what's going on over here? For sure.
Man, I,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I do gotta ask, since you brought it up, how do you feel about all that? Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of opens your eyes to, I mean, obviously the things that go on in Canada, how fortunate we have it, but
Mhm.
also brings to light just the issues of race that exist out in this country in America, and the problems they have, and they got to fix it. It starts from the top down, but the fact they can do it on national television and say, listen, this is the privilege we have, and it's a privilege you don't. So
Yeah.
live with it. So it's right in your face with it.
Yeah, for sure. I hope it gets better soon, man. And
Yeah,
I hope. I mean, like you said, you kind of hit it on the nose there. Like, we're Canadian, and we don't really have that full issue, I would say. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
what I was watching yesterday was just breaking my heart. I couldn't watch too much of it, to be honest with you. So
yeah.
but the one thing I will say though is the one good thing about you being where you are, it's never cold.
This is correct. This is correct. So there's the benefit for sure. I don't miss the snow.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
What was your high school career like?
I was all right. Thought I did pretty well. I started at Westwood, then I switched over to Morning Star. Um, Pretty successful, hardly lost. Thought I probably won like 90% of my games.
Okay, okay.
But I went to Morning Star, played with some really, really talented players. Um, Finished third in OFSA one year. So no, I mean I can't complain. Had a successful run in high school.
Who was your toughest check?
Man, I gotta go with my boy Jerome Robinson. That's my we were teammates for like pretty much from like seventh grade, eighth grade, 9th, 10th, and then I switched over to the enemy because like Westwood Morning Star like 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And I went over there, but I would say he's my toughest check. And then another guy, Tyrone, they call him T-Bone, used to go to Runnymede.
Okay.
And he was just super fast, but he could shoot it too. So you
Yeah.
didn't really know what to really give him on any given day. So I'll say those are my two hardest checks.
Did you ever play against Bathurst Heights?
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
And what was your battles like with Phil Dixon? He was projected to be the face
He's
of
older,
Canada.
man. He's older, man. Phil
Oh,
was
he's
older
older.
before my time. Yeah, before my time.
Oh,
My
okay.
time was like Junior Brown was like leaving out. So it was like JB, Junior Brown, and then Wayne Smith. Wayne Smith is a guy like, I mean, if you put him into this generation now, that guy probably be a number one pick in the draft. They call him
Mhm.
White Wayne. But he was like, oh, he was nice, man. Real nice.
Yeah.
He was tough to cover too. He's big as hell, like 6'7" point guard. So, so.
So talk about the how OFSA was when you were playing compared to now, or even like just the evolution of OFSA in general. Because right now, you and I both know it's nowhere compared to what it used to be. Can you talk us a little bit about the dogfight, about what it was to make OFSA and to be a part of something special like that?
I was tough back in the day. I mean, obviously now most of those talented teams are all gone to this OSBA or these different leagues that exist. So in our time, it was only OFSA, and then especially being in Westwood or Morning Star, there's only like one team that made it. So and both teams were good enough to be, top 4 in the country, but they only took one of us. So it was always a war to get through. And then with Westwood and Morning Star, it wasn't necessarily the best team always won the important game to make OFSA. So it just depends who played that game. And normally the one that was been winning all year. So let's say we played Westwood Morning Star. And let's say we won the series during the regular season, but in the playoffs, the other team would beat you in the playoffs when it mattered. So it's always a tough road to get there, but there's nothing like it. When you're there, just the environment, it's all the top guys in the country, all in one place. And it was a war zone. I remember playing Runnymede, and we were trying to get to Jamal McGlure and those guys with their super stacked Eastern Commerce squad. Now, and just to throw this in there real quick, and they can all watch this, but like Eastern, Bathurst, Runnymede, those guys all recruited outside their area, So if we had done that, not even recruit out of our area, but if we joined Westwood and Morning Star together, those teams would have all lost OFSA for like 5-6 straight years. We would have won that. You can tell them I said that.
Hey, well, maybe we should have. Maybe you guys should have, man. That would have been a storybook ending, because I know that
Yeah.
Jamal. Whew, I saw some clips of him when he was younger, before even like film was really a big thing and stuff like that. When I saw him when he was younger, and he looked bigger than everybody.
But he sucked. But he sucked. In like ninth grade, 8th grade, I don't even say up to 10. He sucked. And then one day, all of a sudden, it was like one summer, and we were playing him because we used to always make fun of him. and they were playing him in one summer, and he was like, I remember it's in Rexdale, and we went up for shots, and he was like, no, no, start blocking all our stuff. I'm like, yo, when did this guy get better, man? So he just got he finally caught up to his body, man. But he improved a lot. Jamal's a
Yeah.
real deal, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's an NBA All-Star, so I mean, you
No
got to give him his credit. What
No
was
question.
recruitment like for you out of high school? Did you have any university looks? And you obviously, American university looks. Obviously, today, you know, you look at everybody and their mother and father are getting American looks. What was it like for you coming out of high school?
It's different. I mean, in Canada, it was like more. There wasn't many scouts out there and whatever. So you had like Division II, some schools, whatever, but it was nothing serious unless you went to some camps. And I remember I missed the one main camp that was happening out in like Pickering when they had every school, like all these colleges came down for the first time, and the guy Bob Marsh actually ran it. And like I decided to go watch my brother's football game, so I missed a big opportunity there. But then it was like for me, it was more important, you know, at that stage, you know, the exposure wasn't there and whatever. So I stayed home and closer to home, and I was like dating my wife at that point. So you know what I mean? So I was like, let me stay home with her and not chase this dream anymore. But when you played, so I went to Niagara College, but when you played American schools, I made sure I gave them the buckets, you know, just to make sure they know, you know. But like, yeah, by the way, I'm good enough to be here, just so you know.
Most definitely. How did you like? Was Niagara your only offer, or did you have other looks as well?
Not other looks, but I decided to go there. I just felt like it was away from home, but close enough to home. So if you wanted to drive back, you can get back there. And Niagara had a certain like little cultural thing that I enjoyed. So did that for 1 year.
So you finish up in Niagara for the 1 year, and you head over to Sheridan. What was the transition like? You know, going from somewhere you're away from home to pretty much coming back home now. What influenced you to your decision, as well as also what was the biggest transition like?
I think coming back home was just like be closer to home, and then my homeboys were there. They played at Sheridan. Some guys that played in high school with like Brian Harris, Craig Morgan. Plus, you know, Coach Nicky Davis is like a mentor. He coached my brother for years, and he was like, man, you know, like he recruited me, and I respect Coach Flack.
Sorry to cut you off, but Nicky Davis is a legend in basketball, in Canadian basketball game, man. Legend.
Keeps it 100.
Yeah, 100.
So and you know, anyway, getting the opportunity, I knew we'd be one of the top teams in the country if I went over there, and then obviously Elvis was there, so a bunch of guys. So I ended up joining them, and man, we had a phenomenal year, man. So should have won it.
What did you learn? Was there any difference from Sheridan compared to Niagara, or was it very similar?
There's black people. That's the best way. But no, I'd say the difference is just like Niagara was just up and coming, so I was trying to help the program, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought I did a phenomenal job, just kind of build their brand. Because I know, like even when I left, a couple of guys from the Toronto and Brampton ended up going up there, and you know, Ernell and a couple of guys helped to build some of their stuff up there. But it's a good opportunity. But I just felt like I wanted to be closer to home. You know, I was a little bit of a homebody. And then, like I said, the opportunity to play with, you know, some of the guys you play with in high school that, you know, you're really close friends. It just made sense. And I'm a competitor too. And then they had the program that I wanted as well. So all in all was just the thing that made the most sense.
Fair enough. Now, you won a few awards, or you were named on a couple first teams, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about how you got your name out there.
It's just competing, man. And you're from Malton, man. And Malton guys, you know, we're winners and competitors, right? We just, you know, we want to try to, you know, we're always kind of seen as the underdog. So for me, just having the opportunity to compete at the highest level in Canada, whether it's in college and then going to university, and them to recognize and give you an award for what you've done. And, you know, it's a sign of just, you know, you kind of feel satisfied at the end of the year. Like obviously your ultimate goal is to win, but if people recognize your hard work and just competing in both ends of the floor, you know, it's important. So it was good. It was cool.
So you transitioned from Sheridan, you head over to York. Talk to us about that whole transition and going from the college to university, because, you know, typically people talk about university as the hierarchy of basketball and everything. What was your experience the same? Was your expectation the same when you got recruited over there? Was what was promised to you what you were given, or was something a little different?
No, like I didn't really have this feeling that university was superior, only from an academic standpoint, yes, but not from a basketball standpoint, because we played a bunch of universities when we were in Sheridan. for the first time. And this was with, and I would almost say this was the beginning of the end of the stigma of that, is when Sheridan started playing. St. Francis Xavier at that point was the number 2 or 3 ranked team in CIS or A, what do
Oh,
they call
wow.
it? Right. And we played them and we beat them by like 20. And we
Wow.
played Guelph, so we were whooping these dudes and they were like, what the hell? So they were shocked.
Mhm.
And that was the first time like colleges got that recognition of like, man, we're just as good as these universities. So I want to say that opened up the door. And then going to York, to me, is more, I wanted to get into teachers college. It's like my, lifelong dream that I decided, I'm going to pursue it and go into teaching. So that's when I ended up going to York. And then
That's
having
what's
the
up.
opportunity again, I played with some great players and again, had a chance to win a national championship. My boy, Danny Aponza, give him a shout.
Mm-mm.
But got an opportunity to play some great players there and have an opportunity to win a national championship. We
Oh,
were the
so you,
last team to beat, we almost beat Carlton. We beat Carlton.
ooh.
Before Carlton went on their crazy run, we were probably the last team to beat them
Was Dave
before they
Smart
went on to
there?
their, hell yeah. Dave,
Ooh.
his nephews, like, tell you the truth, the year before we should have beat them too. They were lucky.
Mhm.
But we were playing in Ottawa with their cheating refs. And then you could tell me the Indian guy at the glasses, you know who I'm talking about. I don't know your name. And then the following year we beat them down here at U of T. I remember that we beat them in the Ontario Championship, and we ended up going to the Nationals. But yeah, then after that, they went on their crazy 12-year, what the hell Dave Smart did,
Yeah.
11-year run. Yeah.
Yeah. He
But
I gotta get your opinion on Carleton in general. Now that you brought them up, Carleton,
mhm,
a lot of Division One teams that played against Carleton. Even when Duke came down here, they apparently were scared of Carleton. I don't know for sure. Those are the
mhm.
speculations. Do you think that Carleton should become a Division One school? And also, do you think that these big time Division One schools are actually scared to play Carleton?
Well, I'll say two things. One, yeah, I do believe that we need to get some Canadian school, besides Simon Fraser in BC, that's part of like Division Two or whatever. But
Yeah,
we need to get a school out in Toronto. It'd be amazing to get it to become part of the Division One, because then kids would stay home and local and know that they can get a scholarship there.
yeah.
And then two, do I think that they're afraid to play Carleton? Hell yeah, because Carleton gets the advantage you have is you get to play all year. They play in the summer, and most of these U.S. teams or NCAA's, they're just literally putting their team together. Then they go on these traveling tours, so they haven't really been able to really practice as much, or they don't really have their chemistry yet. So you can
Mhm.
catch them slipping. So if you come and catch on to Carleton, who has great chemistry already, their philosophy, you jump into a game like that. When I remember Syracuse coming over here, and I think they either lost in overtime or they won in overtime. Syracuse did, and Louisville, they took them Louisville to turn to the overtime as
Yep,
well, I think. You
yep,
know what I mean? So like,
yep.
yeah. They can catch you sleep. They can catch you slipping for sure.
Their practices. I have a friend. You actually know him too, Troy Reed Knight. So I,
Yep,
I
yep.
I I have a friend. He went to Carleton. He told me that their practices were literally like they had 3 a day sometimes. In the
Yep.
summertime, they're practicing three times a day because obviously it's a little different than what you can do compared to Canada compared to NCAA.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you think that's one of the reasons why they don't want to become NCAA?
No, I think they would love to. I think why wouldn't you? But I think it's just getting I guess, allowing to have just a financial commitment to it, right? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest hold up. But no, they would. I think there needs to be a Canadian school. It'd be amazing. I mean, one in Toronto or the GTA
For sure. No, I
would be
think I think
amazing.
I think I think that would be a lot different. I think that would be great,
Mhm.
and I think that especially right now with the pandemic as well. I think the pandemic has taken away the ability from Canadians to get looked overseas and stuff like that. Not overseas, but like over the border and looked at
Mhm.
American schools and stuff. So and it's hard these days for Canadians, to especially with COVID and stuff to be seen. People have to do Zoom calls. People have to send out mixtapes and we can go on about mixtapes and stuff, and I don't really like all mixtapes, but they work.
Right,
Um,
right,
just a very, very, very quick, how do you think mixtapes? How do you think
right.
mixtapes ruin or help the game of basketball?
I mean, they could obviously ruin it because it gives a false sense of what it is.
Yeah.
Because you can make a kid look great just by clipping out all the good things, but you don't show like the other 80% bad plays the kid made in that game.
Mhm.
The way it can help is obviously the flip side, where you can sell and make a kid look greater than what he really is by just
Mhm.
clipping all their great moments and making it look like, man, this guy never misses.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and then the other part, the flip side of it too is, or the other negative is, kids sometimes play for the mixtape. You know what I mean? They want to put on a show for that, and they do things out of character or whatever, and it's not about the team and winning. So,
Man, you and I have the exact same mentality when it comes to mixtapes. I hate them.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I want to get back to you. I want to touch back on you for a second.
sure.
So you finish at York. You get to coaching. You were the founder and CEO of CIA, what stands for Christians in Action at the time. I think you guys eventually changed your name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so myself, another guy, Derek Boyce, and Jason West, we started CIA. So that was Christians in Action, and eventually we changed it to because we got some government funding to help with some gyms. So we
Okay.
changed it to like characteristics, inspiring achievements. But at the end of the day, it was still Christians in Action. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the biggest adjustment for you going from, university and college, going right into coaching?
Not much. It's always been a passion. Love working with kids, and it wasn't necessarily just about the coaching aspect of it, but it was more helping these guys off the streets and giving them things to do. And I've had like 5 brothers. A few of them been in and out of jail with some issues. So you always felt the need that they never had an opportunity, as in my brothers, and nor I. When I was playing, no one kind of came back to look out for us. So it just felt in my heart it was important to start something that would help impact kids. And Derek, myself, and Jason went back and helped kids in Rexdale. There were kids in Finch, and just try to put them together and help these guys. And then before you know it, the thing kind of took off to bigger than what we could have thought or imagined.
Don't let Chippy hear that you help Finch kids. He might take offense to that. But
sorry. Recognize the real used to take regular beating. That's fine. Chippy knows. Chippy knows that. My God.
Who are some of the guys you had in your program? Obviously, CIA has been known. Even now, I think one of the coaches has a CIA Molten team now. I'm not sure if you know about it or not, but someone in
Freddie?
that. Freddie, yes. So he has a CIA Molten team now. So the legacy is still continuing. What who are some of the guys you had in your program to start off?
Oh, to start off with, way back then, it was like Kamar Burke, Kern Lewis. These are some old school names, man.
Wow.
But yeah, these are some old school names. Then you fast forward, and then you move into the Kofi Menza, Melvin Edgem, Tavon Prince, Kevin Thomas, and then you move to like Freddie. Was one of the guys. AJ Mendoza, I think his name, and George and Jamie. Like it just kind of goes on, and then we just kind of, like I said, everything just kind of took off to where you get to like, Anthony Bennett's of the world and Jamal and yada 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 yada. So it's quite interesting watching the growth.
Most definitely. So eventually, you combine with Bounce. You and Tony McIntyre combined together.
Yeah.
First of all, walk us through the process of why you guys combined.
So we had our CIA. They had their Bounce, and actually they're Blue Devils at one point. And we used to play each other a lot in OBAs. And to be honest, they were beating us. And then eventually, when it came down to the I think it was the OBA finals or whatever playoffs, we ended up beating them. So we're always just going back and forth, whatever. And then I remember we all started traveling to the U.S. And there's our guys like, actually, let me not forget my man Derek Osei, from Rexdale, much love. So anyways, we ended up playing those guys, and we played them in like just when we go to America, like their team was playing, we were playing. We'd always meet each other in the finals. And the one time we really kind of came together is when we were in Syracuse.
Okay.
And Tony, actually Freddie, ironically, was playing against Paul Harris, I want to say his name is, and Johnny Flynn and Paul Harris. I remember these names.
Johnny Flynn, like, wow, that's a name.
Yeah, they're from like they went to Syracuse, but they're playing them in this tournament in Syracuse. And then we saw the game going on. It was heated back and forth. So I was like, yo, come on. So I brought our guys over, which are the CIA guys, just watch and support them. And they were Bounce at that point. So we supported them as they're playing, and we're cheering on the sideline. Our guys were really getting involved. It was the first time our kids had a lot of animosity and hate with each other. It was the first time we kind of came together because we're all from Canada. We're fighting against these Americans, so let's stay together.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, I remember hitting Tony, like, yo, we might as well just work together and put aside our differences and let's do what's best for kids. And long story short, that's how it all kind of came together and became CI Bounce.
You were part of the EYBL, right? When you were there?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Talk to us about, first of all, talk to us about the culture in itself, because you guys had a lot of people there. I remember when I played there, you know, right after we played, there was like, I think Tristan Thompson was there at one point. I think you guys had Michael Bongo that played with you guys. You guys had Matei, you guys had Grandy, you guys had, you know, Kevin Thomas, like you mentioned. You know, after me, there's a list that goes on. Elvis talked about it recently. Talk to us about the culture that you guys set in place.
Well, for us, it was like, you know, I wasn't really big on, I don't care what we were called, you know, whether it's CIA Bounce or blah, blah, blah. It was more, how do you help these guys out? How you develop talent? And what I found the secret to be was like, iron sharpens iron. So if you get talented kid versus talented kid, there's no secret to coaching. You're going to get even more talented kid. So they get each other better, right? And no matter what level that was at. So once we combined, like I said, the CIA Bounce, he went to practice and getting better. We were at one point GC Ballers in Canada. Then one point we were M33M Canada with Mike Miller. Then we became Team Takeover Canada. And I would say that was our biggest step to moving towards the EYBL, because a guy named Keith Stevens, who runs Team Takeover, is like, man, Mike, I want you all to get your own deal. So I was my guy. I'm like, I mean, we'll make it happen. So when that took off, we started with Nike. They gave us like a little just product. And then eventually they sponsored our team when Coach Ravelin came down and was like, man, I want to find the right program to support. And he ended up picking our program. And then from there, it really took off. And then that's how we got into the EYBL. And, you know, we were kind of the ones on that platform to give these kids that were elite guys the opportunity to play in that platform, which, you know, I still consider EYBL to be the best league in the country.
How many guys, you know, how many guys did you send Division I from that league, or just in general?
Jesus, I don't know, over 100, 200, 300. You know what I mean? It's a lot of kids you helped out in it. And it's not always about Division I, whether it's Division II, whether it's JUCO, whether it's Canadian University. You know, I got my guy Peter, who's a doctor. Stephen Ali went for football. He's playing basketball, but got a scholarship for football in Florida. But now he's the sports psychologist or mental health person with the 76ers. So to me, it's not always necessarily about, you know, Division I scholarship. It's about the education and keeping these guys off the street, man. So as a whole, we're very proud. Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the importance of education? I try preaching to my kids all the time, like, hey, man, you guys got to get an education. If you don't get it, you know, if you don't have the right courses, you guys can't get into you guys can't get into NCAA clearinghouse. There's a whole other process that I didn't even know about, you know, when I was trying to get into school. Talk to us a little bit about that, the importance of grades, the clearinghouse, and just everything along those lines.
I mean, it's really important. You've seen a lot of kids that didn't make it or fall through the crack because they didn't have the grades. You can be talented as you want to be talented, but you end up going through JUCO and you're trying to reach a dream of playing the NBA or whatever, it won't happen. It's challenging to do that. And for me, and like for our program, we were very fortunate. Like most of the guys that like were my friends or people I was close to, they're all educators. They were teachers. You know, I taught myself. Another guy, Dwayne Ramage, was a teacher. Ronald Miller was a teacher. Like Mr. Graham was a teacher, who I respect, by the way, is the biggest OG in the world. He used to coach at Westwood, but everybody, you know, that's a mentor of everybody. But we had a bunch of teachers that were in the program. So education and teaching was extremely high on our list and what was going on. And obviously just being familiar with the clearinghouse rules. And so, because some kids don't know, you know, and sometimes you get a kid, like, let's say you get them in 11th grade. So now you're just meeting them, but then you go back, man, you're taking all the wrong classes, you know, you were in general when you should have been doing academic. And I guess in today's day, it was applied in, you know, whatever it is, in whatever they call it now. But it's just, you have to be familiar with the rules. You have to be familiar with the clearinghouse, but then you also have to set the kid up to prepare him to be successful. So if a kid had like a 68 or 69 in a class, you need to go tell that kid, go talk to that teacher. Can I do anything to get that 1%? Because whether you got 69, 61, it's the same damn thing when it comes to NCAA. It's still 2 points. So if I can get it to a B, now I get 3 points. So it's just really understanding those little things where be friendly with your teachers and stop trying to fight with them, because they can hurt you or help you.
I know you kind of touched up on a little bit to go talk to your teachers and stuff like that, but I feel like, you know, a lot of kids in particular, especially for me as a coach, when I ask the parents of the kids for their report card, they feel embarrassed, you know, to give it to me because they might feel like they're going to disappoint me and stuff. How do
Yep.
we as coaches teach these kids and remind these kids, hey, like it's you know, it's not okay to fail, but for lack of better words, like if you're failing, let me help you.
Yeah, and let you help you before it's too late. So I think it's almost having a progress report where, you even get a written report, like where's their grade at after this month, right? And to say, I want you to send a note with the teacher, like I need to know what your grade is at this point right now. Because by the time you get it at the end, it's almost too late, right? So how can you really help it? So
Mhm.
if you kind of know what's going on monthly of like progression, how they're doing, and that's why even if you as a coach, say, hey, I want to go meet with your teachers and see your teachers, especially the ones that are struggling in that particular class or area. So
Mhm.
then you can get like, okay, so you're getting like a 60 here or whatever, but you need to know as it's going on, but because at the end it's a little too late to go back to the teacher and try to do something. But if you know as it's going on, then you can address those issues.
The biggest thing for me or the coaches has been the biggest thing for me or the coach has been really been taking pride on making sure that our kids are gaining a certain average, and but you start seeing the differences of kids as they grow older, especially when they get to about a grade 11, grade 12. When is it too late for you as a coach and you as a mentor to say, you know what, man, this might not be it for you?
Man, I don't know. I think I always believe in when you're coaching a kid that's like 16 or 17, even 15, 16, 17, and you're trying to develop a kid at that stage or help them out, hard to break their habits.
Yeah.
And I'd almost say that's the same for schooling, right? So it's a challenge, but can it happen? Yes. Is it likely that it will? I don't know. I would say it's 50-50. So
Mhm.
what's the age? I couldn't tell you, but I just know the older they are, the more they're in their habits and their ways.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So
Mm.
we're gonna get off of the coaching right now. We're gonna get into One Legacy sports management.
Mm.
I wanted in 2013 you leave to pursue this. What made you start this? How did this even come into fruition, and what was the biggest thing behind it?
It just organically happened. It wasn't something I wanted to do, planned to do. Just an opportunity presented itself with one of the, guys at this point going into the draft and the possibility of it. And everyone you met was just kind of like on the shade, not shady, but just different. It wasn't about the kid. So it was just like the opportunity presented itself, like, you'd be really good at it, da 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 da. Mike, you should do it yourself and blah blah blah. So I was like, all right, I'm not gonna do it by myself. I'm gonna join with a company that has experience. Because first I said no, I was reluctant to do it because I enjoyed my job. I enjoy teaching. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
enjoy working with kids. But someone's like, man, there's no one in Canada doing it. It's the right time. And you're the guy that should take, the lead on doing it. So that's how I kind of end up start doing it and jumped into it. And it's been 9 years later, whatever it is. And I started off with Excel Sports and then moved on to do my own
Congratulations to Jamal Murray this year, by the way.
thing.
But who was your first client?
Anthony Bennett. So
Oh,
Bennett, and then I want to say Melvin Edgem, another guy, Will Kleinberg, about two or three guys. Those are my main guys.
there are some guys that I looked up that you have right now. I didn't know you had Rondé Hollis Jefferson. That was a name to me that I was like, that's a good name right there. Well, they're all good names, but I'm saying like I just didn't know because in my mind I thought you were doing all Canadian. What was it just trying to get people in the right fit and stuff along that nature, or was it just because from what I was told, and I could be wrong, you started this for Canadians,
Correct.
for the Canadian basketball. What made you pursue Americans?
It's not really necessarily pursuing Americans. I think if it's just when you're in the business, you recruit, right? And then there's guys that kind of come across your way that are talented that may fit your particular. And I learned over these years too. Now, like, and especially now, you have a better understanding of guys that fit who you are and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, my preference is my Canadian guys and deal with the Canadian pipeline and helping those guys, whether they're NBA, Europe, or whatever. But obviously, you're in a business where there's multiple talent and have a lot of relation with different people that aren't necessarily Canadian. That may be like, hey man, we're looking for an agent, blah blah blah. We think you're a good person. You do a good job, and so on. So it all varies.
Fair enough. Fair
But
enough.
Canadians are my preference.
Hey man, honestly, I love the fact that you are you're an advocate into the Canadian basketball world, because honestly, I don't feel like there's enough of them, and I feel like Canadians in general aren't getting the recognition, the love that we deserve as basketball players, because we're so big
Yep.
on hockey. So to have somebody like you that is strong minded, that is very eager and helpful, is huge in the community. So I just want to applaud you for that. You know, I really just wanted to make sure that you hear it. I don't know if you hear it enough, but
Thank
if you
you.
don't, but if you do,
Thanks.
it's big time. Can you
Thank you.
can you walk us through a process of a contract negotiation?
Sure. I'll just give you an example. It could be, all right, one of these players plays with a particular team. And it all depends. You know, some teams a little more hardball, and you just got to know basketball. You got to know analytics. You got to go know numbers, and you got to know the market. So what's the
Mhm.
market that year, right? And that thing can change from overnight. You know, because if some other agent takes a lesser number on a guy that's similar or comparable to yours, it then puts it in a tough place for you when negotiating because that person took that number. So now that becomes the market value almost. So you still got to be able to go after and pursue, like, no, well, you know what I mean? This is why this player is this particular way. And then the team will come back and say, well, we've had all these issues with player X. So we think we should pay him this. And it's like, no, you're going to pay him that. Well, then fine. We'll just wait till next year, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to play hardball, but you also got to know the line when, okay, this is pushing it too far. The team's going to get, you know, kind of pissed off or whatever about it, and then they're going to run away from the deal. So you never want to push too hard that you push them away, but you want to push enough. Our job is to get guys paid more money than what they're valued at and what they're supposed to be getting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's an agent's job to get you more. And I feel like, you know, that's kind of the process of dealing with a particular person with the team.
Has it been difficult? Have you ever had any controversies related to somebody I feel like they're worth more money, but you kind of got to break it down to them and say, listen, you know, maybe this year you might not get it, but a couple years down the line, if you sign a multi-year contract and they don't want it, they're not seeing eye to eye with you. How do you bring somebody back down, you know, back eye level to you and see your vision for them and their vision for the team and then for themselves as well?
It all depends, man. Some kids really get it and they understand it. And then there's others that people could get in their ear and yap at them like, really? You could get more money here, you know, or whatever it is. And some kids are more understanding of situations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to really tell you a clear cut black and white answer, I can't. I can just give you the gray answer of that some kids get it, some don't. You just got to know your client, and you also got to understand that this is a business that, you know, you're hired quickly, but you're also fired quickly.
Yeah.
So you just got to be thick-skinned about it and just know what it is. But for the most part, most of your guys stay with you, but you will lose some of the guys that aren't necessarily realistic, don't understand the business, or they just want to blame somebody. You know, some people just that's what, you know. It's the nature of the business you're in.
Yeah. It sounds like AU coaching.
Right. The nature you're in, man. So they've learned it from a young age.
So
especially if they be switching like high schools and switching this, just rest assured they're probably going to switch when they get, you know, that's their habits, what they're known to do. So
for sure. One last question I want to ask you about this, and we're going to get into some quick hitters. But I want to ask you, this past summer, Jamal Murray had an outbreak of a year. This guy was hooping out of his mind. Talk to us a little bit about how that's been able to, you know, potentially grow his stock as well as also grow Canadian stock too.
Well, first and foremost, I think his dad, Roger, has done a phenomenal job developing him and teaching him mentally how to be strong and just built him different. You know, I would arguably say he's probably our best Canadian player, not just now, but probably ever. He'll go down as at the moment. You know, I mean, is there another kid coming along the line? Who knows? You know, but
yeah,
he's a special talent. And how does that help his brand? Obviously, you know, you see him on the cover of Slam magazine now. You see him on this. He's won an award for like breakout player of the year with Sports Illustrated. So obviously his brand is taking off, who he is, because it's always tough as a Canadian being in the American market. You're almost easier as a European guy, but the Canadians, they still kind of fight us a little bit. So it's nice when Jamal can break through all of that regardless and still establish his name. Because he, you know, for example, should have been an all-star these last 2 years, but they always put these other names in front of him. And it's to the point, do you value points or do you value winning more, right? Because you'll see guys that have losing records get into be an all-star, and it's like, whoa, how does Jamal not make it with the top two? Sometimes I think they're one point, they're top team in the West at one point. But anyways, and then as far as Canada, obviously the more successful he's doing, or just anyone in general, the more people come back and, man, they're Canadian, and they start putting more respect on our name. but it's obviously a long road. We've come
Mhm.
quite a bit long down that road, but we're still have a ways to go. So the more he does well, or guys like Dylan Brooks, who's done a phenomenal job, and Dwight, and so forth, and Shane, these different guys, the better it is for all of our Canadian players and coaches.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to ask one last question actually before we go forward to the quick hitters. But I want to know, you did mention Canadian coaches. Nick Nurse as an American coach coaching Team Canada. Do you agree with that, or are you against it?
Deep question. Well, I mean, I get it. Listen, not to knock Nick Nurse, I think he's a good coach, right? But it's also disrespectful to our Canadian coaches, right? That you're not good enough, right? And if our Canadian coaches are having a hard enough time trying to get into these different levels of the NBA or coaching professionally in Europe or even coaching the NCAA,
Yeah.
how are we helping by Rowan Barrett or these guys in Canadian basketball going to hire an American, an outsider, and the assistants? Some of the assistants are not our Canadian guys. How do we ever get a chance,
Mhm.
right? And like I said, you're also labeling our guys that they're not good enough, you know. And I think Coach Jay Triano is a great coach. I
Yeah.
think he's great with our guys, you know. And I thought that was really wrong how he was handled. I thought it was wrong how they dealt with him. So if you want to be very blunt, I will.
Yeah.
And I think even Coach Roy Rana is with these guys since they're like 13, 14 years old or 15 with the national team.
Yeah.
And how do you exclude him out the mix? So again, I'm not opposed to Coach Nurse, but I also feel like we didn't need to do that with all the Canadian coaches we have in the mix. So I think at some point, you know, if our leaders or people in leadership don't have their own little bias or whatever it is, why you would go down that path or that road, um, and don't have an understanding of how to build our own brand and stop empowering. Because, you know, I doubt you're going to find the USA basketball team hiring a Canadian to coach their team.
Exactly.
Now I get these other countries, you know, Puerto Rico and these guys,
Yeah.
what they usually bring on, you know what I mean? But you're not going to find that any other way. But I thought it was very disrespectful to our guys that have put in and especially during our golden age, you know what I mean? You want to call it, where now we finally have the talent. So you can't blame
Yep.
for us losing for these other, but now we have the talent. And now when we get the talent, you give up on the guys that have been with you all these years when we were losing. A
Yeah.
little weird.
And that kind of hit home for me as well. Like you said, I love Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse is a phenomenal coach. I love what he's done with the
Yeah.
Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Nick at any point in time. But my thing is, like, even for Steve Nash as a general manager of Team Canada, but now he doesn't even want to put himself on the coaching staff over there. But now he wants to get coaching staff at Brooklyn. I mean, I understand he wants to help himself and wants to progress as a a mentor or whatever case might be. But like, come on, Steve. Like, you couldn't coach, Team Canada. Like to me,
Can't really blame Steve. I don't think Steve was really dialed in like that. I think it was just a name being used to, like, leverage certain relationships in regards to, like, just to help the brand a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't think Steve was like, I think he was more invested maybe the early years, a couple of years, but he's a busy guy. He's got things he's doing. But I think Rowan Bear is more the head of it, right?
Fair enough.
And he made more of those decisions. And I think in making those decisions, I think he turned his back on a couple of guys that really, in my opinion, should have been a little more respected.
So we're getting some quick hitters. Finish off the show with some quick hitters for you. We've
Sure.
got about 3 or 4, and then we'll finish off. I want to know right off the bat, your top. You're a coach. You have the option of drafting Kobe, LeBron, Michael at number 1. Who are you picking?
Mike,
Woo! Why? That because your name's Mike too?
absolutely. And he's the best to ever play. There's not even a question about it.
I was gonna proceed with that one as well. Do you think that LeBron James, if he wins 2 more, he's better than Michael?
No.
Fair enough. Shaq or Elijah one?
I almost gave you that no, and then gave you the KD stare to Barkley with no one to respond, like, no.
That's a very tough stare. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't want that
Yeah,
stare,
yeah,
but I'm glad
right.
you did it.
Yeah, like, no.
Shaq or Elijah one?
Damn, good question. Shaq.
Why?
A little more dominant from a just physically moving guys out of the way, but Olajuwon was so skilled. So I mean, it's just who I like more. That's all. It had nothing to do with who's better. They're
Fair
both
enough.
dominant.
Fair enough. Nash or Stockton?
Canadian all the way, man. You know we do it.
All right, take out Nash. We're gonna go Stockton and Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul's the most underrated point guard. Sorry about that. Somebody call. But I think he's the most underrated point guard in the league, just from a standpoint of he's been very successful with New Orleans when they were a team, brought them to the championship, and then even with the Clippers, then he got hurt, and he almost beat that dynamic Golden State team before he got injured when they were up 3-2. So the guy's he knows how to lead, and then you saw what he did with OKC last year, and then I think he does the same thing with the Suns this year. So Chris Paul by far.
Okay, fair enough. So is he ever going to win a championship?
No, because you probably get hurt.
Unfortunately, I have to admit you're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah. He stays healthy, maybe.
Yeah. Top 5 artists of all time.
Man, I'm a little different though, so I don't know if you're gonna like this part of it, but Smokey Robinson.
Okay.
I like, you're not talking about art as in drawing, obviously. I'll say Michelangelo, but I mess with you. But Smokey, Michael Jackson.
Ooh.
I am a Jodeci, which that's a group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of Jodeci.
I know what Jodeci is. Come on, I'm not that young.
I gotta make sure. I gotta check. I'm a James Brown guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little old school in me too, brother. That's why I'm killing you with that.
I like that.
And then Whitney Houston, because you didn't say me all for you, man.
Jeez, she tough.
Yeah.
She could go.
Yeah, legendary.
Last question. Top 5 movies of all time. They don't have to be basketball movies, just any top 5 movies.
Usual Suspect, because the ending, I'm pretty good at telling when, okay, I can see what happened here. This is what this happened here, blah, blah, blah. But the way that movie ended threw me off guard. And you caught me off guard, but you probably didn't know that movie. But check it out. Usual Suspects. Boys in the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the It for a scary one. The old It, not the new one. Is it It or the Children of the Cornfield? I mean, one of those, like, those are dope. Grease.
Ooh, that's
I gotta hit you with that, man. I gotta hit you with that.
Oh, okay.
I gotta hit you with that. And I would say, another dope. Maybe the series of like The Matrix alone as the whole series. I thought that was pretty dope.
Hey, the Matrix is they got it right now. What we're going through right now is all the Matrix. So shout out to the Matrix for that.
Yeah, that's dope. So
last one I gotta ask is, and we ask all our guests this: who is someone that you would recommend to get on the show? But the difference is you got to help us get them on.
Well, I ain't gonna help you, but I'm messing with you. Jerome Robinson.
Okay.
Jerome Robinson. I think he's Malton legend. Should have been in the NBA. Coached at New Mexico, St. Bonaventure. He's got a lot of wealth of knowledge and things that he's been through, man. So I'd say Jerome Robinson for sure.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. I appreciate if you could hook us up with that. And
I will hook you up for sure. I got you.
I appreciate that. And Coach, it's been an honor. It's been a privilege to be able to talk to you again. I really appreciate all you've done for the basketball community and for Canada as itself. What are some of your social handles that we can follow you on?
Man, I don't have all that stuff. I think on Twitter. I don't even know what my handle is, man. I'm just listening. I read this stuff just for whatever. But the other guy too, you should look at Coach Devin Jones. Done a lot for the community as well with Yace.
Okay.
I think it's not just about it's the other part where you do with the community stuff, and he's a big community guy. So I think Coach Jones has done a lot for the inner city in Jane and Finch, in that tough area through the school board, and he's a very inspirational guy. So I think he's a great mentor. Definitely a guy you should talk to.
Coach Devin was the very first guy that started this. That started Yace.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So he was there. He was there when they had like Kadar and Darnell and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. What great guy.
we're off topic, but wasn't he a part of 5-0 as well?
Depp Jones, yeah, should have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Legendary,
Okay.
man. Legendary. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes. Hey, one more time, I want to thank you so much for your time, and I want to thank you for coming on to the show and giving back some knowledge, giving the kids,
Of course.
everything you do, and we really do appreciate your time.
All right, man, and good luck with your show. You're doing a great job, man. You guys keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My man. All right, be good.